Okay, so what I want to show you is the Bakin Pack 2 and how I released it. So we've got quite a few assets in here to cover, so I'm just going to start and work my way around the map here. So these are vinyl siding, and you've got a straight wall, a window, a door, a patio door, the opposite patio door, another taller straight wall for filler, a taller wall with a window, taller wall with a door, taller wall with a window, top window. And then you piece these together. So if you look around the side of these, if I rotate, you can see that they're on each side. They're on all four sides because they are mapped to a terrain, and you can only work with the top surface and the sides. But what that allows you to do is to work at different heights and put different things at different levels. So you could put this on the outside wall. You could make the center fuller, window either on an outside wall or in a middle wall that's taller. You can make a second story building. So on and so forth. On the ground, you can see I'm walking on the asphalt terrain, and I'm going to be walking on the slate ground terrain here. You can see that slate, a little bit of moss on some slate stone. But what you can see here is that we have the blue, the rose, green, gray, tan, white, in all of those ones that I showed you in the blue. And then in the white, we also have these ones that I built to build a shed with, but you could also use them as like tinted windows or whatever. If you watched any of my earlier videos and you saw the trailer park video, which if you're interested in Bakin Pack 2 and you want to see how these buildings go together, definitely check out some of my older videos with the trailer park, etc. I do some demos of some of the different stuff as I was working on them. But these piece together as ends and centers and whatever. You've got the different heights to work with. And then this one and this one are the same, but I've added a 2-angle pitch roof on top of it. So those shingles are in a 2-angle pitch. And that's the other thing. If you'll notice, gray for the blue, a bit of a red tint, a dark green, a different shade of gray, maybe a hint of brown, a brown over here, a reddish, rusty color here. So even on the tops of the vinyls, I went and put some difference in them. They're not all using cookie cutter stamp. The bottom is kind of for this terrain. Oh, that one needed to go up one more level. But again, that shows you the difference here. You can choose to go up 2 levels, choose to go 1 level. You've got a bit of, flexibility in how you put these together. However, keep in mind, you still need to work within the constraints of these assets and the height and how they go, because as you go up and down, things are going to disappear and appear out of the ground, so you're going to lose stuff. And if you go taller, then what's going to happen is going to begin tiling, and you're going to begin to either tile in the middle or tile on the bottom, depending on how you chose to set up your repeat mode. Now, we're going to walk along here, and you're going to see this ground here. This ground is just kind of a pebble ground with a little bit of a moss or a green grass or whatever you want in it. Just to give you another ground terrain, just another difference in the texture. Keep the versatility going. I hate that. Now this green grass here, this is just the stock 128 green grass that comes with the engine. I use it just simply so that I can highlight the items I used. So here is that shale, and what I decided to do with that shale granite texture is you've got a little bit of a rocky ground, so you got some dirt with a few little rocks in it coming out. So it's just a little different texture to the ground because underneath of a rock, you're going to have a little different texture. It's not just going to be a brown, hard brown dirt, right? Like over here under the asphalt, it's hard brown dirt. And that being said, look at how nice this, why am I, oh, see how I'm on that? It works very well for slopes. It works well for the rounded terrain. As I walk over here, you can see it steps up well. Now, you could also choose to have this as a hard edge. So you could make it like a straight wall and not like the rounded polygon shape. Kind of like this asphalt. It's a hard edge. I chose not to have it as the rounded. But you could easily. It's just a setting when you import it. In fact, you could import it twice. You could slightly change the name of it. Import it twice, or just in the 3D stamp, right click on it, copy the stamp, copy it with a new ID, and then you can go in and simply just change it to being rounded corners, and then the first one solid, don't round corners. So you can make a lot of different terrains out of the same terrain, or at least a few, and give yourself some more flexibility. And now what you're going to see here is the same thing with the gravel, and you can see it kind of looks a little more, it blends a little more to itself. It's not, because it's the same texture at the top and the bottom, except the bottom transitions down. There's more of the green at the top, and as you go down, the dirt gets darker and the green transitions out. So, but it actually makes for a good, like a crush fill or a gravel pit bank or something. I wanted to try and work with the assets to make sure that you had some surfaces that weren't quite as differentiated. So like this and this are very separate. Same here, the green versus the dirt, very separate. And that brings us to these grasses. Actually, no, I'll walk across the street here first, and I'll show you this. So these are just, I don't know what you call them, earth bags, retainers, landscaping boxes, but it's basically just like fence meshing that holds a whole bunch of gravel in place, and they're used in a lot of places as retainers for landscape and for ground. I used them in my trailer park against the far bank. So it keeps the bank separate from the front grass area. So just something I thought of that, may or may not be useful to you, but I figured I'd throw it in because when you've got these taller banks using this tile-based terrain system, you can use these as separators to go, oh, well, there's a logical reason why this grass is not solid to this grass below, and we've got this divider to keep it from sloughing, whatever, right? I'm sure you can come up with a million ways to use it. Then now we'll get into these grass textures here. So what we've got going on, I'll zoom in so you can see a little better. Green with a little patch of with a little bit of brown, so it's a little bit of a longer grass. Then you've got a really burnt, like a late August going into September grass. Then you've got another green here, which is green and yellow green with a little bit of yellow going on in it, so that it's changing between this, and then that would be like the next logical step in a transition. And then you've got this one, which is like full yellow, so it would be after this one, but before this one. So you go basically green, if you're going seasonal green, yellow, then freaking burnt or fall or whatever you want to do there. You could also use this for like a chopped wheat field or whatever, lots of things. Then we come over here and we've got these two, which are basically the yellow and the green, except what I've done with them is I've given them a really strong normal map. And so what you get is you get more of this like salelberry or underbrush weed type, I don't know, maybe even like a dandelion lead, like the base of dandelions or something. But you're getting much more of a under the forest canopy type of ground coverage here now. And so you've got that in the yellow and you've got that in the green to use as you need to. So Now we'll come across the street here to, if I can quit from hitting the wrong keys. So these are all the, now we're onto the, like the stoneworks, like the pavers and the stones and whatever. And these here, I've done them at different levels so you could just see how they space and mesh together pretty darn seamlessly. I've given you basically a gray, and I've given you a brown, and I've given you a deep red terracotta color in those. And so those are kind of like patio pavers, herringbone sidewalks. You could use them for wall caps or something. So that gives you quite a variety there of those, 3 different colors. And then I've also got them on the ground here just to show them how they look on the ground. How they mesh together pretty good. There is a little bit of a junction line on the edges of them, but it's not bad. And it's just because that's where the normal map wraps around the side and you're getting a little bit of a bump there. So it looks like a groove. Same with these ones. You get a little deeper groove just on the edges of the tiles. But, you know, you're going to have a bit of an edge where these things separate anyway. So that's kind of realistic. So there we've got the same ones on the ground. So you're just walking on the fishbone. And then we've got a bluish stone, brownish stone, and these are like a pressed concrete or a sidewalky type with maybe like an acid stamp or a wear on them. There's a gray stone, a brown stone, and again the deep terracotta stone and a green stone. So I've given you quite a few varieties of that, which I'm sure here you can see these look like they could easily, you could make castle ramparts out of them, no problem. I mean, you could raise these up, leave these on the floor. Like, there's a lot you could do with these. I can only imagine some of the creations people will come up with. Now then, we're going to walk down here. And we're going to come up here, more earthworks. And so you can see me walk up on the side here. What I've done here is these are normal map, but they're a light normal map because leaves are pretty flat. So what I've done is I've got a variety of leaves. I wanted to show here the tiles on the 1 degree slope to show you how the groundworks work nice and how the patterns do map into each other to form a seamless tile. And I know that's one of the hardest things people have in making terrains is making those tiles seamless and interlocking. So you can see even here, even though this one's sloped, you can see where the pattern would interact, and here they merge, right? So what I've got here is this is a basically a heavy green leaf, and then you got a little different green leaf here. This is, oh no, this is the same green leaf, so that's the same green leaf pattern in 2 different layouts and different tiles. And I made the ground here, you can see that it's not really dirt. It's more of like a granite or a shale. It's a flat gray with a little bit of marbling in it. And that's because this is a rock or a rock, cracked rock or man-made rock, whatever you want to do with it. But it's basically more of a solid rock type surface than a rock on ground. But you could use it however you want. But just that was what I had in mind. Then here you've got a redder type of stone with more of a yellow type of leaf pattern on it, or it could be a moss or a grass. Here you've got a little in between. See how dark green that one is? Here you've got it a little more between the yellow and the green, but again it's on this same type of stone. So you could transition or alternate these around. The pattern is the same on the gray stones. It's different, slightly different on the yellow stones because you'd use these in a different climate probably, right? Different area. But these could be used in the same area and just transition between. And then here you've got another pattern yet again, and it's a much darker red stone rather than a brown stone. And I could see that in like a desert area, maybe like a Utah or I don't know, Arab Emirate or somewhere where you've got much more sandstony, redstony type environment. And then this one I've got a mix of red leaves and green leaves on there, so that it could be from, you know, maybe more deciduous trees like Japanese maples or something happening. Just another variety, that's all. Another variety. And then you can see how that tile set joins seamlessly with this next tile set. And this one is more of a green with a little bit of orange in it. And a little bit of yellow, so gives you quite a mixture there. And then you got with the fresh ivy growing on top of the old stuff. It's like the really fresh leaves on the ground, and yeah. So anyway, that's quite the variety of stonework for you there. Hopefully those show up pretty good in this video for you. Now we're going to spin around this way, and you're going to see kind of the dungeony material. These are the stone walls and grounds. So the ones that I ship with it are the normal maps are pretty tight. They really make it pop, and I've left the walls as rounded so you could really use these for dungeons. So there's a green dungeon. There's a white stony dungeon, a red stony dungeon. And in this one here, what I've done is this is less of a normal map, and it still has a normal map attached to it, but it's also straight walled, but it's less of one, so it's not as deep. So you see how this one looks a lot more like actual ice, and this one looks more like maybe white marble, or I guess it could be ice, but more like a white marble. And then this one, your classic gray dungeon, you know, got some... my graphic card is giving me some shiny bits on it, but I actually tried this on an NVIDIA, and I don't quite get the shiny, which is in one way disappointing, and another way not. It all depends. Just different graphic drivers will have some different things with them. I think it's just point values shining through from this particular engine. This is OpenGL rather than DirectX, so. But you can see the grout lines and things, and it's like they really work well. And then I got the sandstony gold, a little bit of goldy one here. And then I've done that same one with the same texture file, but not rounded. So this one isn't rounded, but it's using the same depth, I believe it is. And then I've got it again here with no normal file to it. So deep normal file, shallow normal file or shallower normal file, and no normal file, a flat texture terrain. And so that gives you 3 different varieties of this terrain. There's nothing stopping you from creating your own normal maps if you want for any of the other ones, and repeating them. Then I thought I would just demonstrate it in actual use in a wall. So here's the deep normal map. And there's the deep normal map on the floor. Then we come over here to the, this one is the no normal map, and no normal map on the floor, so you can actually see it in use. Should have made them a little taller, but that's all right. Then I went with the curved walls on the deep one, just to see how it was kind of like the dungeony. And then I went with the curved walls with the flat floor. And just so you can see that you don't have to, you can mix and match your tiles. You don't have to use the same. So that gives a different look there of a more polished and smooth floor, but you've got the more rough and rounded corridors. And then I decided over here to use the rough and rounded stone, gray stone with the white corridors, just to show you a little difference there. So now what we're going to do is we are going to wander back. Before I show you the middle here. And we're going to wander over here, and you're going to see the tree terrains. So what we've got going on here is these are terrains that I made to make a forest with. So you've got your deciduous tree, and what I've done is I've done a single bump up from the ground, a double bump up from the ground, and then elevated them right up pretty tall into the sky, just to show you how you could use these in different ways for each one of these. So this is a deciduous tree, and I used like a deciduous tree ring on it. So it goes 1 up, 2 up. You got some neat stumps there, and then this one goes way up into the sky. This next one This is just like a darker cedar bark. Let's here, we'll walk over to the tree there and zoom in a little bit on it, just so you can see that it's a little more like a sprucey bark. This one, it's a little more of a crosshatch pattern with a little finer detail. So you got that happening there. And the next one over here, we've got one variety of a kind of a repeating band, the same band over and over on this particular tree, of more like a cedar bark. And and you'll notice that I've changed the pattern up on the top of the stump now. So these first two trees have this ringed pattern. This tree has more of a cracked pattern. And we keep that as we go in more of the cedar type and away from the spruce and birch aldery types. Then this one here on the stumps, you can see that I've done an ivy on the top ring and just a little bit down around the side of it. And then on this next one, you could see, let me just walk over here a bit more, see a little bit on the sides there. And you could also see on the base of the tree, right? So at the base of the tree I've got. And then on the base of this tree, which is this one, there's quite a bit growing up, and then this one's just got a little bit. But then as you go up higher on the tree, it gets more at a different location where it repeats. So it gives you a lot of diversity when someone's walking through the forest. You actually get, see there's the vines up there, and that one's just got a bit at the top. This one's got a lot at the top. And then you can set different places to repeat. And then over here, keep moving my fingers. I apologize about jumping around a little bit. And then this one again, it's deeper to the ground, and it's got a different pattern here. It's got these individual ones kind of coming up. And then as we go up the tree, we got the mossy pattern, and again the big. And then what we've done now is, I'm just going to show you this, then I'll turn my attention. You can see this tree model sitting on the top. Well, it's a treetop model that I've made. And so you can import that, and you could put that on the top of your trees. And it meshes pretty good. You've got to play around a little bit when you import it to get the size right and stuff, but scale it. But then once you've done that, all you've got to do is in your resources, right-click, copy. And then you can change it again, and then you've got a different size. And it'll keep the parameters that you scaled or rotated it to. So you can mix those up and make a few different tops, and then that will... But you really don't need to, because all this happens when you're in game, more or less. This all happens above the player's head. So it's just from a distance so that you've got something. And you can see here, it kind of looks like a cross between like a fir tree and a monkey tree, right? The way that these textures are on here. But that's done on purpose so that you get some center color on the branch, and you get some green coming out in these hexagon-y shapes, kind of, to sort of mimic the nettle pattern that branches would grow in. It's not perfect, but again, you're not going to see these up close, and you're not going to be like swinging in these treetops. If you're going to be seeing trees up close, you're probably going to use the fir trees or the pine trees that came with the engine. They're done really well. I don't know why you wouldn't use them. This is more, again, low polygon, low vertex, so that you've got a lot less work for the CPU and the GPU. And that's the thing about using all these tiles. It's to lessen the work of the CPU and the GPU. You can do a lot of work on a very large map and fill in all this detail. A whole city, a town, a forest, combination of all the above, without really stressing out the machine at all. No CPU or GPU usage. So as long as you can run GL 4.2, I believe it is, your computer can run this. The little ultra mini machines, they probably can't. You do need something with a graphic card. Even an integrated Radeon or an integrated NVIDIA would be fine. I've test run this on a 4th generation Intel i7 processor with a Quadro CAD graphics card in it, but it can handle OpenGL, and it worked fine. And it wasn't any screaming fancy. It was an integrated low-end I think it was a 4th gen Quadro 4 or something. So not very powerful at all, and it was able to handle whatever I could throw at it using terrains. As soon as I threw a whole bunch of tree models and building models and things in, it bogged right down and started skipping a little bit. So you can do a lot with this. Now, the next one here, I'm going to show you, well actually I'll show you in the middle first. So these are some extra things that I've thrown in. These are billboard trees. So what they do, unfortunately, you rotate your camera that far, you can see it lay, but they follow you and follow your camera. So as I rotate, they rotate. And they're just 2D PNGs of trees. Now, you wouldn't use them in this methodology where I'm walking through the middle. I mean, you probably could with some of the deciduous ones or something, a little bit. So what we've got is oh, I left that one off the ground. I didn't quite bring it down far enough. We've got one kind of barren one that you could use in wintertime or in a graveyard or something. We've got this deciduous tree here. See, that one actually works okay with her in game till you roll your camera like this, of course. Another deciduous tree, didn't quite get the ground with it either, it looks like. And a 3rd deciduous tree. So I've given you 3 deciduous trees, 1 barren deciduous tree, and 3 coniferous trees. And what you would do is those would be off in the background behind your stuff, maybe up on ledges or whatever, or even behind your forest that you walk through, to add a lot of terrain and texture to the just detail. It just flushes out the terrain. Like I could see using this one in like a little park or in a backyard behind a house or something. It would work great. And then last, what we've got to cover here is just the biggest subset in the tool. So, oh, sorry, the billboards. So what you can see here, I'll zoom out, is there's 2 dark forest billboards, one at the ground level, and then one kind of that tapers off, and you can actually kind of stagger them or stack them. And then 2 meadow ones that are pretty much mirror opposites of each other. You can see this little thing here, same thing on this side. So they're just to use so that you've got some backboard billboards. If you've got the edge of a map, your player can't walk over there, but you want to have something so that when you're looking off into the distance, you're not just looking off into clouds or space or a nighttime sky. So they're just extras that I threw in. I don't know if anyone's going to use them or not. It really depends on how you want to flush out your terrain, but you've got them. They're just extras thrown in. And there you can see that treetop in the distance just sitting by itself. Pardon my dog barking at the door. She wants into the studio tonight, and I'm in the middle of this, so she can't come in. So now what we've got is the last section to walk through, and we have this wood-sided building. And so what I've got is a variety of 512 and 640 height terrains with windows different heights, with a couple different types of windows. You can see there the plain everyday ones, and then some with the little dividers on them. Zoom in a little bit, show you that a bit more. Over here we've got a shed, kind of like I did with the white vinyl shed, and you've got the center and the 2 sides, and just the filler. Then you've got some doors. You've got a couple different normal doors. These are the same door in the 540 and in the 640 and the 512. Here you've got a wood shed. Another part of that shed, that's the centerpiece. Here you've got a wood shed. You've got left, right, and center. So that one would be like a left because it's thicker on the left with just a little divider in the middle. And it's got the footing at the bottom. The center, no footing. It's just all wood with the wood siding on the top. And then you've got the right one here. Sorry, those should have been opposite. But you see how they kind of piece together. You go into the woodshed, you've got a foundation and stuff. You can see I've used these in other videos and things, so you'll see where those are. There's that other door I was talking about, or patio doors right there. Sorry. Let me just zoom out a little bit again. Patio doors on this side of the upper window. Solid walls. And then come down here. There you've got another door there with the grid in it, and there you've got the other patio door set. I think that's the either the 512 or the 640. So anyway, you've got quite a variety of these, and it does take practice to put these together. But once you put them together, what you're going to find is that you get a lot quicker with it. Once you play around with a couple of the vinyl ones and a couple of these ones, and you can do a lot. I made like a big bunkhouse in the trailer park. I made a small little cabin in Ash's demo level for his game jam. So there is quite a bit that you can do with this kit. And I think that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to zoom out here. Oh, keep pulling up I forgot to disable the hold right mouse button. But you can see there is quite a bit in this. You get a lot in this asset pack. This one's $5.99. The first one was $3.99 Canadian dollars too. So I don't know what that's like $1.50 American or something. It's ridiculously cheap for what you get and for the amount of work that went in to create it. Hopefully people enjoy it and use the resource to make some really neat, interesting areas and games and flush out their content. And I look forward to getting the next one out there for you. I know this one was a little bit long, but I figured it was good that people got a really good look at what's in this if they're going to purchase it. So have a great night, and I'll see you in the next video.